Niners favored by 12.5. My question to you, because the Niners have just beaten the best teams in the league by 1 million.
Yeah.
Why are they only favored by 12.5 here?
I saw that in your notes. Only 12.5, question mark.
That's my note for this game.
Are you forgetting the last time these two teams played?
Yes.
Ah, okay. Well, that would explain it.
They had Josh Dobbs.
They did.
I didn't forget. Josh
You're
Dobbs
telling me they downgraded a quarterback by getting Kyler Murray?
Josh Dobbs had one of those games. He had one of those awesome Dobbs games where he made some big plays.
Yeah. They also covered way more than 12.5 in that game, by the way. It was just for a long time they didn't.
Yeah, it was close. But yeah, the Niners, they're cooking. Now, I mean, you could say, hey, the Niners they played a division game. It was multiple games against the Seahawks. It was the Eagles. There was all these huge games. That there'll be a letdown here.
No, I mean, I think you're right. Like that offense looks unstoppable when everybody's healthy. It genuinely does. We just talked about how hard it is for everybody to create explosive plays. Well, they're creating explosive plays everywhere at all levels of the defense with any type of pass. It's insane. And I think that trend that we talked about earlier in the season is still true. Brock Purdy's biggest strength is the offensive scheme's biggest weakness. So when the offense runs out is when Brock Purdy steps up and creates an ad-lib play or extends the play and finds Brandon Ayuk down the sideline for a big play. Like that's not one where Shanahan's system is making it happen. That's actually one where Shanahan's system essentially cramped out, right? Whatever we drew up on to go to number one didn't work. And Brock Purdy, normally that's when the system would go bad, right? Suddenly Jimmy G or Nick Mullins or C.J. Beathard is under pressure and he makes a mistake or he just eats the ball, gets sacked, or it's an incomplete pass because he had nowhere to go. And you're like, there's the problem with Shanahan. Now that's when Purdy steps in and goes, I'm good. I can buy time for a little bit and find Brandon Ayuk down the field and we still have an explosive. So that's what makes this whole thing so freaking unstoppable right now is that it's good everywhere now. And Arizona isn't. So they should put out a lot of points.
Yeah, in the Brock Purdy MVP discussion, which we're not going to dive into, you could make the case. I mean, again, both things are true. There's nuanced take here. Here's one other angle on it. We saw Jimmy Garoppolo have a lot of success in this offense. But if you said that Brock Purdy is now this difference between Jimmy Garoppolo and where they are right now, and you give Purdy credit for the delta there, right, which is out of structure plays, under pressure plays. Purdy also quietly has a 90 rushing grade. So we're only going to grade the plays where a guy's running the ball, and when he runs, he's picking up first downs. Right? When he chooses to run, he's been efficient with it as well, or QB sneaks or whatever it might be. All of those little things are adding up to the ridiculous production that we're seeing from Purdy. I mean, some of the stats are pretty funny. Did you know he has 7 fewer pass attempts than Joe Burrow this year?
No.
He has 18 fewer pass attempts than Lamar Jackson.
I saw
this season. And he has 1,200 more yards than Burrow and 600 more yards than Lamar Jackson. Wow. Because he's averaging almost 10 yards per. He's 9.9 yards per attempt.
That's crazy.
So if they were voting on MVP, I do actually think he would win today because voters are going to just look at the stats and he's first in everything. Whether it's all him or not, doesn't matter.
Right.
I think he would win today.
I will thank you to place those voters in a higher level of respect.
How many are there? 50 voters?
I think so.
Still?
Yeah.
So there's 49 voters who I think would look at the stats and check the box.
Am I the one that doesn't, or is that somebody else?
You would deep dive into it.
So you see the nerds, they love these quadrant graphs, right? Where they put everything on a quadrant and it's here's one random thing against another random thing. And look at the distribution. Too. Sometimes. I only do it with pressure just because I thought that was a good one.
It's a good one.
But anyway, the one I saw that I thought was pretty interesting recently for Brock Purdy in particular was it was EPA per play on quick passes. I forget what the time was, but under 2 seconds or whatever. And then it was EPA per play on passes that were long developing, long into the play clock passes. And Brock Purdy was in the Mahomes area, off by itself, way off of the best thing, where he was elite at both of them. And I think that's a visual representation of the argument I made before, which is Shanahan is responsible for one of those axes being really high, generally, and Purdy is responsible for the other one of them being really high. And when you put the two of them together, he's over there and nobody else is anywhere near him. That's what the 49ers offense is right now.
Yeah. And look, sometimes we we lose perspective because we're just trying to like isolate what's the performance that we're seeing, and let's put some context around it. And maybe I've been guilty of some of that with Purdy. Like, here's the thing we've seen, here's what it means. The bigger picture of a late round pick still being early in his career and being this effective and comfortable in the pocket and decisive with the ball is really impressive by Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
So and by the way, he's creeping up in our rankings.
Right.
Is he up to 7th or 8th now?
Yeah.
And if you just like we're not biased in any way, right? Like when we weren't giving Purdy as much, when he was grading at 73 with ridiculous stats, we would say that's more scheme driven. As the grade goes up and the production goes with it, we say that's more QB driven, and that's what he's been doing recently. He deserves that credit.
He's been getting consistently better, which I think you can probably. I mean, number one, this is year 2, right? He's young,
Yeah.
So that's expected. Number 2, remember the dude, like, his elbow fell off at the end of last season. He had like in training camp he couldn't throw the ball properly. They were like, we have to put him on a pitch count because he can't throw yet. Like so I don't know how long a UCL injury takes to come back from of that magnitude. Where in the training camp you're definitely not 100%, but it's entirely conceivable like that this is part of his recovery arc as well, that he's just getting healthier now and is getting better because of it. But either way, like, his season is getting better the deeper it goes, which, forget MVP, is terrifying for every other team in the NFL. They already look like the best team in the league, and their quarterback is getting better.
All right, man. Niners favored by 12.5 here at Arizona. Where are you going?
Yeah, they're going to cover.
I'll take the Niners as well, as I said.